Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Tiny Brains podcast. I'm Kevin Joyce, CEO at Tiny Brains, and with me, as always, is Peter Graham, the Brigadier of Brains.
Good morning, all.
It's afternoon in the UK, Pete. What we do on this podcast every week is we take a look at the biggest stories in XR from the week previously, and today we're going to jump straight in with some more meta news. Now, on last week's podcast, we talked about murmurings and rumours and rumblings at Meta, and this week we've got more.
We have indeed. Yes, quite right. Last week we talked about their revenue and how Reality Labs had sort of done well because they'd earned over 1 billion, but then not well because they'd spent over 4 billion or 6 billion. But this news comes, it's actually slightly delayed because it was a memo that the CTO, Andrew Bosworth, or also known as Boz, sent out in November, and it leaked last week saying how 2025 is going to essentially be, or how he views it as, the make or break year for Meta and its XR aspirations, essentially. They are, they're putting a lot in, into this technology, and by the way Boz made it sound, it's there. If it doesn't work out now, then it may never work out, which is, I don't know, is that a bit too much doom and gloom for a Monday?
Well, it could be, in my mind, it could just be because it's an internal memo to his team, right?
Yes,
Supposedly. So it could just be motivational hyperbole, right?
it was partially a rallying call, wasn't it?
Yeah. Having read the whole thing, it's like, well, I'm not sure that Meta's going to give up at this point. Um, and it could just be like, if it doesn't happen, I'm going to get fired. So you guys hurry up. Could be a million ways to take this. But either way, it's nice to know that they're going to try and do some stuff this year.
Well, exactly that. They are going to double down as much as possible by the sounds of it. Last week we previously reported on, yes, new Quest headsets, which we were expecting, and more AI, more AR glasses. And part of this memo also said that they're planning on releasing half a dozen more sort of AI-powered wearables as well. So whether that means that it's going to be this year or over the next couple of years, we don't know. But those AR-powered wearables will undoubtedly mean more smart glasses, more
I
AI.
mean, it's definitely a rallying call for Meta investing more in hardware,
Yes.
which considering, a decade ago they weren't remotely involved in hardware. It's uh it's a change. It really shows that Meta maybe want to becoming more like Apple, and all their
I
little
think
gadgets
they
and
always have
smells.
wanted to be a bit more like Apple. Yes. Whether, as he says, whether the work will go down as a work of visionaries or legendary misadventure, which is quite a nice quote. I don't think it'll be a legendary misadventure. I think
If
XR.
if if Meta pull the plug now, it won't be a legendary misadventure. It'll be a sinkhole for the investors. That's what it will be.
They'll be doing a Google if they pull the plug now. No, we're not interested anymore.
Oh, they supported it too long to be Google.
Sure.
Anyway, moving on, we have some other news in the hardware space for a different device, or in fact, a different couple of devices.
Mm, Indeed. Well, previous rumors. Well, let's go back a bit. Apple Vision Pro. Apple launched it without any controllers whatsoever. They didn't want controllers. They wouldn't. It's all based on eye tracking, hand tracking.
This was more or less a year ago at this point.
Exactly. Then rumors started to surface that Apple had actually contacted Sony and said, right, we want to collab and get your PS2 controllers, PS2, PSVR2 controllers onto the Apple Vision Pro. And the rumors are continuing. The new report came out last week that this work is ongoing, and yes, it's quite possible that AVP owners will be able to have PSVR2 controllers, possibly at some time, maybe this year, in a possible software update. Maybe people are expecting maybe in Vision OS 3, which is due for release this year. But again, a lot of rumors.
Now, at present, you cannot buy PSVR 2 controllers separately. Whether they're going to actually make this so that it's compatible and you can use them, or whether they're actually going to launch it as an optional product, we don't yet know. But the way the rumors are going, it seems like a lot of work is going to this for support for something, that some people might have.
It is again. It's one of these things where, well, like a lot of peripherals in XR, it's niche within a niche, isn't it? It's like, okay, so Vision Pro consumers have they're going to have money because they've spent 3.5 grand on this thing. They're going to have the money for PSVR 2 controllers if they want them, but how many are going to find a use case for them? There aren't, I would imagine that there aren't really that many games that are going to be available just yet that are going to be able to use these controllers, because all the games that have been ported over so far, even some VR games like Synth Riders, they're all using hand tracking.
But arguably, that's the reason for this to be happening. Maybe Apple has discovered actually we need more games, and games in MR currently work better with controllers.
But how many people are using it for games? I imagine a lot of
Well, I mean,
Vision Pro people
chicken and
are
an egg, isn't it?
creators, aren't they? So, they're using it for workability. They're using it as second screens for their PCs, for their Macs.
Or maybe Apple want more gamers on it.
Maybe they
So
do.
they need more games to get more games. Why?
Maybe.
The why we will not know.
But yes, so expect to hear more news about this at some point later this year.
So keeping with the thread of games for the moment, and especially with keen supporters of PlayStation, we have some unfortunate news for nDreams, the UK studio. Now, nDreams came out flying many years ago as a big supporter of VR, only working with VR products, and they raised a ton of money to enable them to do that. But it seems that the company has kind of imploded a little bit with quite significant layoffs over the last 6 or so months. And now they're doing a restructuring.
Yes, they did over the last couple of years. They've split off. Originally, when they first started, it was just the nDreams, and then they exploded and branched off and actually created 4 different studios. They created Studio Orbital. They created just called nDreams Studio. They also created Elevation, and they created Nearlight. Well, this restructuring has seen the demise of nDreams Studio, who made Synapse, and Studio Orbital, who focused on sort of live service and free-to-play games. Both of those studios have now closed, and 40 of the staff from those studios have now amalgamated into a new studio. So there's multiple studios still going on. A new studio called Compass. And, well, we'll wait to see how this goes.
So, from the reports that I read, it seems that most of the team that worked on Synapse are being retained, but this does result in a 17.5% reduction in team size. And now this is after nDreams' significant reduction late last year. So, what was once a, a domineering XR studio in the UK is now maybe not quite as much of a powerhouse as it used to be. Doesn't mean they're not still going to put out great games and great products in VR. I myself have great experience with nDreams in the past, and I wish them all the best in the future. But it is a shame to see a company that was growing so rapidly and showcasing, as someone from the UK myself, and Pete obviously as well, to see such a UK powerhouse in VR significantly reducing the amount of power they have.
So this new studio called Compass will be aiming to set its sights to target a younger VR audience by what they say rapidly prototyping games. Now, the way I read into this, correct me if I'm wrong, Kev, but the way I read this is Horizon Worlds type of mini games. That's where the younger audiences are,
The way I read it is
stuff
they
like
want Gorilla Tag.
that. Well, yeah, exactly that sort of stuff as well. Yeah.
So there has been a debate online lately about where all the adult VR gamers have gone, and I mean the fact of the matter is adults got bills to pay now. Things are getting a bit tighter, So cost of living and all that kind of crap and inflation, it's making it harder to find that money to pay for games. But children still have their pocket money.
Hmm.
Moving on, we have some slightly more positive news. This one's a bit of a weird one to me. So anyone who's been a creator in VR, not creating games or applications, but creative in like an art spectrum or modeling or architecture or whatever, probably remembers a Google application from several years ago. What was the official name of it? It wasn't just Blocks, was it?
No, it was just called blocks.
It was just called Blocks. Okay, so Google Blocks. Um, Google Blocks got shut down by Google because Google are Google, and there were several other companies that tried to step up and to become the next Google Blocks, but none, to my knowledge, actually managed to find a way to export the entire content of Google Blocks onto a new platform. They had bits and pieces, but not everything that everyone had created, and thus a lot of content was lost. But now,
Now a studio has saved it. And in actual fact, yes, as we've spoken about many times before, Google likes to shut stuff down. It shut down Blocks, it shut down Tiltbrush, it shut down its other platform, Poly. And a company called the Ecosia Foundation has brought a couple of these back to life. It brought Tiltbrush back to life with OpenBrush, and it's just done the same over the last few months with Blocks. So you've now got OpenBlocks. Now, OpenBlocks arrived last year on Steam, but the big news is that it's now available for free on Meta Quest. So you get, if you use Blocks before, or you just like creating stuff, it's a low poly tool for creating 3D models. And it's now, brought Google's Blocks back to life, back from the dead. And I think these things are a great way of keeping Google's previous projects alive, aren't they?
yeah, indeed. I think this is great. We love to see it. The team behind OpenBrush are great guys. Well done, guys.
Yeah,
Well done,
exactly.
you. So, rounding out, as we always do, we're going to talk about a game, and this time we are going to talk about exactly where the adult gamers in VR are.
Indeed. One of the biggest games to launch last year was Batman Arkham Shadow. And by some numbers that have surfaced, it seems to have done quite well with players, hitting over 1 million players to date so far. Now, there are no official numbers for this. No, Meta doesn't release them. It's Camouflage that made the game, and they've not released any sort of official sales figures. But we all know that Batman has been bundled with Quest 3 and Quest 3S, so it's freely available for all new owners. So that's possibly helped with these numbers. But these numbers, where have these numbers come from? These numbers have come from in-game achievements, and this is a new way people have found of tracking how popular VR is and how popular some VR games are by the in-game achievements. Basically, going by the easiest achievement you can get. You play two to 5 minutes of this game, you are going to get this achievement. And this one is Full Scod in Batman. You basically find a Rat King idol, and it's essentially everyone's going to find one of these at some point quite quickly. So, and over 1 million players have done this. So it gives you a rough estimation of how many people are playing these games at the moment, especially a AAA game like Batman.
Now, personally, I don't think 1 million players for a AAA game like Batman, as you said, which is bundled with the hardware, is is significant enough. I think as a full-priced VR game, 1 million players is great. As a free VR game bundled with the headset, mm, okay. I think realistically we should be hoping for 2.5 to 3 times that. But that's just me.
I would also say yes. We would need to have a look at some other figures. Look. I've got no figures for maybe the Alien game that came out, or maybe Behemoth. If we saw some of those, but again, this all depends on the achievement. If none of these games have an easy, quick to pick up achievement, then it's going to skew the numbers anyway. So this is why it's only a very rough ballpark figure, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Yeah. I'd like to know more. If any of you know more about Batman's success, please do let me know because I'm hoping it's better than this.
I hope so too.
Anyway, that's all we have for this week. I thank you all for joining us. If there's anything that you'd like us to discuss on this show, or you'd like to join us or anything like that, feel free to reach out on any of the channels we have available. We are everywhere. And we'll see you next week for more XR news.
Thanks again.